Hey everyone, welcome to my very first ever, honestly, I've never done this before, my first 100 days spent on a raft on the hardest difficulty. I'm not gonna lie to you, I really like Raft. It's probably one of my favorite, like building survivor game. Of course you have Minecraft as well, but besides that, I love Raft. It's so fun, and I think I've gotten good enough at the game to play it on the hardest difficulty, and the game is not that complicated. It's fairly easy. You know, you expand, you survive, you're on a raft. Jesus, man, get it out. You're on a raft, and essentially all you do is not die. Honestly, I guess that's the point of it. There is a story in the game, but you can simply just ignore that. And hey, you know what? I would be right. If you ignore the story, then all you do is just survive, and that's okay. That's fine. You know, surviving is cool. I will admit though, I'm not a fan of sharks, and I don't like sea creatures in general. So it's really weird that I decided to do this on a raft instead of like any other game that is out right now. Besides, I could have done Minecraft as well, but I don't think I'm good enough in Minecraft to survive 100 days without dying. So the first thing that I wanted to do when I spawned on Raft was to expand the boat as much as possible. Being on a little dinghy, it's not good, right? Being on a small raft, it's not fun, and the shark will attack those little parts until you have nothing. You'll fall in the water and you'll die to the shark, and we don't want that. Not if we want to survive 100 days. We don't want to drown. So I start collecting planks and plastic and expanded the boat as much as I possibly can. I think I extended the boat to a point where it's 6x6, and I stayed at that level for a little bit before I started collecting wood and plastic again. Because here's the thing, right, with this game. You're on a raft, right, in the middle of the ocean, and there's a lot of debris that's hurtling towards you. The debris doesn't stop. It's endless, right? And there's always there's 5 types of debris. There's leaves, plastic, planks, barrels, and boxes. The first 3 are very straightforward. You get leaves, you can make rope out of them. Plastic and planks are the main ingredient for almost every material that you have in your inventory. Anything that you want to craft needs plastic and wood. Not all of them, but some of them, most of them. Inside the barrels, there's a chance you may get food like potatoes and beets, and they're not by dry, which sucks, I know, but there's a chance you might get those. And sometimes you'll have scrap, like scrap metal from the barrels. The boxes, there's a chance that you may get blueprints, and you'll only get 2 blueprints from those boxes. The first blueprint you'll get is for a receiver. The second blueprint you might get is for an antenna. Now you can use the receiver and the antenna that will receive signals from nearby islands. And that's where the story is. So after about 25 to 30 days of collecting materials and like expanding the boat as much as I possibly can. Expanding the boat was my main goal. There was nothing else in sight. There's nothing I wanted to do except expanding the boat first before I continue with the story. The reason why I wanted to expand the boat is because I needed enough space for everything that I wanted to get. And I already had plans for the future because I knew what materials that I'm going to get in the future that will help me create more and more items. Something that is absolutely necessary in the game is a research table. With the research table, you'll be able to research materials like leaves, planks, plastics, copper, iron. It doesn't matter what it is. You'll be able to research it, and you'll be able to learn how to create more and more items, which is exactly why I wanted to expand the boat. So after expanding the boat to a point where I felt comfortable, I started crafting these one-use anchors that require stone and a stone in a bucket. And it didn't require a lot of materials. I think you actually just needed stone and plastic, and that's about it really, and rope. And then you'll be able to craft your first ever one-use anchor. I started finding these small little islands around the world, and I would put my anchor down and I would dive down. Again, this is all within the first 30 days of the game, still collecting items. I started collecting, like I said before, iron and copper, because once you get those two materials, you'll be able to craft better equipment, like a metal axe to break planks, to break trees, to cut down trees. Instead of having a stone axe, you'll go from the Stone Age to, the Iron Age, I don't know, to the 21st century. Hey, you'll be able to use metal to craft axes, a metal hook, which has more durability and longer reach. Instead of the plastic hook, which is what you get when you spawn in, you'll be able to craft a metal spear, which is actually pretty decent, because once you have that, you'll be able to kill the shark slightly faster. It'll do more damage to the shark, and you'll actually be able to parry the shark when you're in the water. I don't think you can parry the shark using the wooden spear, which is what sucks about it. But you can use that to parry you can use the metal spear to parry the shark and stop him from attacking you. So after I killed the very first shark that we've had, in collecting his meat, collecting his meat and his head, all right, again, double pause, I started collecting more and more material, scraps, stones, clay, and sand to make a smelter. I started feeling more comfortable underwater. When I got back onto the raft, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go find another island so I can dive deeper in it, I started noticing that the shark attacks on my boat were more frequent. And this is the part where playing on hard difficulty kind of sucks, because you have, instead of one shark, you have two sharks. On the hardest difficulty, after you kill the first shark, there's a chance another shark will spawn. It's a guaranteed chance. It's not crazy. You'll have two sharks at all times, but once you kill those two sharks, there's a chance a third shark will spawn. And you can have up to 5 sharks at one time on the hardest difficulty. At some point in the game, I actually did have to, as soon as I dove into the water, I saw 3 sharks. I went up immediately to the raft. I was not really about it. I was not gonna fight 3 sharks at all. 2 sharks is fine. You can easily trick this by having a part of the raft be exposed at all times, and you can just, as soon as they start attacking it, you can stab them, do as much damage as possible, and then they'll die that way. But of course, that's a strategy, in case. But I never actually used it in the game. It was just there. It was an idea. I never actually used it. So after collecting enough materials and making a reusable anchor and making the smelters and everything, I felt comfortable finally going to the first island, which is the radio tower. So once I made it to the radio tower, this area is pretty straightforward. There are some stories, there are some notes that are left behind and will be read to you by a voiceover. But the idea behind it is that you need a specific note all the way at the top of the radio tower that will lead you to another area of the game. Half of the radio tower is sunk underwater, and it is not a pleasant time to be underwater on the hardest difficulty, because at this point, while I was in a comfortable area, and yes, there is a lot of loot under the radio tower, I did not want to have to deal with 2 sharks at a time. So I figured I just grab the loot that's above water, get the note for the next area, and just move on. We did meet a non-playable character, or a playable character if you choose the character in the menu. You can change characters depending on whatever you like. There are multiple characters. They were added with their latest update. After I got the note for the next location, I go back to my raft. I use the receiver to put the number in and guide my way to Vestigian. Vestigian. It's a luxury yacht that was beached on a small island. And in this section of the game, there was a lot of rats, and these rats respawn. Every time you leave the boat and come back, the rats will respawn. And again, the idea behind it is that you need to go all the way at the top because that's where the note is. But you should take note, in this area, you need to collect 2 items. One is a jack to lift up a heavy safe, and then the other one is a bomb. You make a bomb so that you're able to blow a door open. And in this area, I spent about 5 days in this area alone, and I'm not gonna lie to you, this area is packed full of food if you're smart about it. You can use the spear and jump around the rats and kill them. Honestly, I think they're rats. I honestly don't know. They're very muscular. They're very huge. They look like rats. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna say they are, just because it saves me trouble to try and figure out what kind of animal it is. So again, if you're smart, you can easily get a stack of 20 pieces of meat if you're smart about it. And you can get more. You can stay there as long as you want. Once you kill all the rats, all you have to do is leave the boat and come back on it again, and you'll have more food. So when I realized that, I knew that I needed food, because that's the important thing. I needed food and water. I had a lot of materials, and I was sitting comfortably at this point, but I needed food. So after spending several days at the luxury boat, the boat that I can't actually take with me, which sucks, but that's okay. I don't think sharks would attack that boat, which would have been great, but oh well. We get directions, or I say we get numbers, a note that talks about Balboa Island. Now, this is the first big island that we actually visit. Well, there are big islands, but they're not as big as this one. And this island is the last island of this chapter. Once we get to Balboa Island, at this point, I had already spent about 45 days of my time on this raft. So I feel very hopeful. I feel great. And I remember that this island is chock full of bears. And I'm not talking about Pooh Bears, or the bear that's like, hey, turn off the fires. The fires are not cool. I don't know what his name is. Yogi Bear? No, that's not him. What's the forest fire guy name? I forgot it. Why? He wears like a pretty cool hat. Smokey Bear. That's his name. His name is Smokey Bear. And he's the guy. His name is redundant. His name is Smokey Bear, but he doesn't smoke and he hates smoking. I think. I don't know really. Does he hate smoking? It feels like it. I don't know. I don't think he does. But as we roam around Balboa Island, trying to find the next note, you realize that it's not actually a note. What you need to do is find 3 towers. There are 4 towers in this game, in this island. You need to find 3 towers to activate their power, and then go to the 4th one. Well, actually, you don't need to go to the 4th one, but the 4th one has like a little cabin that you can find more loot in. But this is not really a pleasant area, because there's a lot of bears and they are very strong. They take a lot of hits, and they could easily kill you. They do a lot of damage as well. And on the hard difficulty, it is, again, really not fun. Absolutely not fun. So what do you do at this point? You find the big bear, the mama bear. There is a bear that is bigger than the other ones, and that bear is protecting a cave. Now you might be thinking, well, what's behind that cave? Because that's exactly what I was thinking. There are 2 ways you can go about it. One is fight the bear and lose, because they do more damage than any other bear in the game, and they have way more health than any other bear in the game. I think this is essentially, you could say that this is your first boss fight. I guess you could say that. And it is not a pleasant time at all. Like, it's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for me, it's not fun for the bear, but there is a way around it. There is a second way. You can collect berries, and next to the cave where the bear is protecting it, there is a basket that looks a lot like it came from a hot air balloon. You need to collect 5 berry bushes, blue berry bushes, because the red ones are for you to eat. The blue ones are for the bear. So you need to find 5 different blueberry bushes around the island so that you're able to distract the bear and enter the cave yourself. Now, the bear isn't gonna eat the food forever. So I find the berries around the island, put it in the basket, and then watch the bear completely ignore me and run to the basket to eat. I make my way inside the cave and start using the shovel on the little pieces of dirt. But the main thing that I wanted to get out of this cave is the blueprint for the machete. It's a homemade machete, but it's also very strong. Using this machete, you'll be able to essentially kill enemies with less hits. So a bear takes about 8 hits or 9 hits to kill. With the machete, it takes 7 hits, I think, or 8 hits. So again, it's still a lot, but it's definitely better than the spear. Did I say machete twice? I feel like I said machete twice. Let me clear up. The metal spear takes about 9 hits to kill a bear. The machete takes about 7 or 8 hits. In case there was any confusion. I don't know. I'm basically freestyling this entire thing. There's no script, there's nothing, and I'm kind of going off the cuff. I'm going off my memory, actually. So after collecting the machete and the blueprint for it, and getting the code from the towers, we head towards the new island. I guess you could call it an island. It is an island called Caravan Island. And just like the name suggests, there are a lot of caravans that are dumped all over the area. There's a lot of broken places and it's very confusing. There is loot here. Your main goal, obviously, besides getting the note to the next island, is getting the zipline blueprint and the zipline equipment. Also, on this island, you actually meet new enemies and they are deep in the water. Thankfully, with how the game works, you actually will not be facing sharks while you're in the water. You'll be facing pufferfish. And now the pufferfish are really mean and they're aggressive and they will come at you. And when they get close, they will explode. You don't want them to explode. You need them because once they die and you collect their bodies, you will get an explosive gel. But you can't really use an explosive gel anywhere. What you have to do is smelt the explosive gel and turn it into an explosive powder, which will allow you to make, well, as much as I want to say guns, no, you can't make guns in this game. You can, however, make a net gun. Technically, you can make a gun, but it's for a net. And no, I'm not talking about a person named Annette. No, I'm saying a net like a thing to catch animals with. There are 3 types of animals you can catch. You can catch goats, chickens, and llamas. You can get milk from goats, which will allow you to make milkshakes and all sorts of different things. You can get egg out of chicken or chicken out of an egg if you really, if you want to be. Sadly, you can't breed any of the animals. It's not Minecraft. You can't breed any of them. Like breed them together. I just realized how that sounds. Like breed them together, right? Not you doing anything. All right, don't be weird. All right, I realize how that may have sounded. No, I mean, like you can't breed animals together. So you can't get 2 chickens, breed them together, and then have 3 chickens. You can't do that. And with the llama, you can get wool. And using wool, you can make clothes articles like an armor, a leather armor and some leather shoes. And you can make a bigger backpack, but I never actually caught a llama. I never caught any animals throughout this journey, sadly. I did catch animals after I finished recording everything, but I never actually did it while I was doing it, right? So after we get the zip line, the new notes, and everything that we need from this island, from the Caravan Island, we make our way towards Tangora Island, which is not actually an island. It's actually a giant dome. It's a city, it's a floating city that has multitude of buildings, and roaming the streets is what appears to be corrupted robots that will attack you upon seeing you. Once you knock out a robot, a card will deploy from the top of their head. You can use that card to go inside of buildings, and there is a variety of buildings. There are so many buildings in this game. You cannot enter all of them, which is the part that is kind of sad. I would have liked to go into all of them to see what's what, but that would mean designing so many things. And as soon as you enter a building, there's an elevator, so there are only specific floors that you can go to, which is understandable, Your goal in this area is to go into the main building, which has a giant dome at the top, like a giant ball at the top. Once you go inside, it's not actually the ending, honestly, so it's not really there. So what you need to do as well is once you get to the top, you'll be faced with a locked door. And this door, of course, using the zip line and of course using the zip line and using everything, you'll be able to go inside. I mean, of course, you can't cheat it, kind of. You can actually just use your Raft to go all the way to the top by using detail plank. And this is a new addition they added. The detail plank is a savior. It's a godsend. You can use it to craft something that will clip through so many things. It can clip through walls. Depending on like the raft swaying back and forth, you can actually clip through so many walls, and you can easily cheat your way up there. I wanted to do it legit. I didn't want to cheat my way up there. So once I made it all the way to the top, I was faced with a door that required a code, and next to the door there was a note. On that note, there were pictures of a barber. There's a bunch of shops around the islands, and what you need to do with this note is go around the dome, and find these places, like the barber shop or whatever, and see the number of the building. And with the number of the building, you go. That's the code and order. So basically, it's a puzzle that you solve. Once you solve the puzzle, you'll be able to go up all the way to the circular dome that's inside the dome, and you'll be able to launch it. Once it's launched, it will float at the top of the water, which means you'll have to go back on your raft and head over there, and that's where you'll find the next point. And also, you'll find a side character you can play as. You can choose to play as if you want. But that's not really what's important here. What's important is the fact that this was actually the ending of the second chapter, which means that we are at the ending of our game. We are now going into our 60th day. Look at that. 60th day. And going into our final chapter, which is, the third chapter. There's no name for it. I have the wiki open, and I thought there would be a name for it. There's no name for it. But the first area we get to is Varuna Point. Just in the same way as the first island, which was the radio tower. This is actually two different buildings, one on the right, one on the left. And there is a giant crane all the way at the top of the right building. And there is an entirely submerged area that you actually have to go down in. So now I am faced with the idea of 3 sharks at this point and a completely submerged area that I need to go into. I absolutely buckle up. I pull my big boy pants up and I say, no, I'm going in. I'm doing this. And it was not fun at all. Nope, not one bit. I've gotten close to death on multiple occasions, and I think I spent a solid 10 days in this area. It was not fun at all. The entirety of the area was just so painful because there's also new enemies in this area. There are jellyfish that hurt you, and there are also, I don't even know what they're called, but there's these little sea animals that have a light in front of them. You remember Nemo when they were down in the dark area when we're Finding Nemo, the first one, not Finding Dory, right? Finding Nemo all the way down at the bottom when they were down in the dark area. And they found a light, and they started following the light. Oh, I'm gonna get you, buddy. Remember that part? I'm gonna get you, buddy. You're mine. Haha, I'm gonna catch you. Yeah, I'm gonna touch you. That little light, it turns out, it was a big scary animal, and I had to face that in Raft. Now the animal, that specific sea creature, exists inside of rooms that are underneath water, which means that I had to be very wary of my oxygen tank because it was super low all the time, and I had to not die from these creatures that I don't know their name. I'm sorry, I don't know their name. I'm gonna put a picture of them, and you're gonna see them in the background of the video if you look now. The first thing that I need to do is find 4 light bulbs. You can tell that at this point, after their final update, their final chapter, the third chapter, they added a lot more content than I anticipated. So the first thing that I need to do is find 4 different light bulbs and put them inside a light underneath the water so that I clear the area from the jellyfish so that I'm able to continue forward. And at some point, it really just was not fun at all because one of the sharks somehow got too close to its radius. And maybe I got too close to its radius, and maybe or maybe like he swam too close to me. His AI immediately caught me in his radius and then started going after me underneath the water inside the building. So I was stuck with a shark that can actually clip through the floor, because I was on the bottom floor when he came after me, and then I went up an elevator shaft and then tried to hide somewhere at the top, and lo and behold, that man clipped through the wall and started attacking me underwater. Once I cleared the way from the jellyfish, once I found all the light bulbs and cleared the way from the jellyfish, I traverse the underwater building chaos. It's completely destroyed, and I have to find ways around specific obstacles. I am faced with the very first boss of this chapter. It's a giant hammerhead shark, and he is so mean, like incredibly mean. I mean, I don't like describing things as mean, but he was actually mean. The guy, once he hits you once, takes down about half your health, and then you are pushed back all the way, like almost out of battle. The first time he attacked me, he pushed me outside the battle confined, and he just turned around and like swam back in. Because like he pushed me out of the arena, and I said nope, and I went up to my raft. Now you can tell at this point why it took me about 10 days in this area alone. The shark has no health bar. You cannot kill this hammerhead shark. There are ways to kill him, but it's not the way you think. It doesn't matter if you had a machine gun. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at its size right now. He is huge. But there are explosive barrels that are underwater. And if he hits you while you're holding a barrel, nothing happens. Yeah, I know, it's weird. I do remember being hit while carrying a barrel, and it didn't do anything. I think it just dropped the barrel for me. So what you need to do is, you need to stand near a column. There are 4 columns. You need to stand near one of them. And as soon as he gets into his attack mode, you step back behind the column, and he attacks first time and breaks it. At this point, when he breaks it, he leaves out of the area. And remember, you're fighting this guy underwater, which means you have to be aware of your oxygen and your health bar. You grab a barrel and you put it inside the broken column. And you do the same thing again. You get him to attack you again. You do this 3 times on each floor. Each time the columns get stronger. So the first time, it only takes 1 hit to break the column. The second one takes 2 hits. The third one takes 3 hits. Add an extra 1 for each time you have to put a barrel inside the column. Once you kill the hammerhead shark, you actually gain the ability to put up the entire body of the hammerhead shark on your raft as a reward. It's a trophy for yourself. But at this point, the area has been getting crowded like crazy. Like everything has been, like my raft is seemingly big, but it's not as big as I wanted to, because nothing fits it anymore. I can't craft any more materials, and I knew that I'm going to be getting more and newer items to put inside the boat. So after I kill the hammerhead shark, I get a key for the crane. So I go all the way up to the top of the crane, use the crane, and then a giant stack of blocks just descend from that crane, crushing the top of the other building that we haven't been to yet. And so using a zip line, we go from the crane building all the way down to the other building that's been destroyed, and we get a bunch of blueprints, and most importantly, the note to the next point. But before we head to the next area, which is called Temperance, I wanted to expand the boat even more so that I'm able to fit the trophy of the hammerhead shark alongside of any new materials that I wanted to get. So I spent about 10 extra days collecting materials, collecting planks, planting trees in my boat, making more surface area, and just sort of really just going insane mode, if you will. And then finally, after making the second engine and everything, I decided that it's time to go to Temperance. And as much as you would think Temperance is a nice, cool area, you would be right, actually. It is cool. It's actually below zero cool. It's a frozen Arctic biome that they added into the game. And there are a lot of Arctic islands with believe it or not, polar bears. I don't know how they still survive, because clearly the reason why the world has became turned into water, it's clearly because of the ice caps melting. I don't know. There's an issue going on in this world. I'm just not really educated enough for it. Thanks, global warming. Oh, there it is. That's the thing I remember. I completely forgot it's called global warming. Don't judge me. On this island, it's not fun, but it's also the most fun, because they finally introduced, for the first time ever, they finally introduced a way for you to move around. They gave you, it's like a jet ski on snow. What is it called? Why am I blanking on the name of it? Jet ski on snow. What is it called? Snowmobile. Ugh, I forgot the name of it for a second. They actually give you a snowmobile, and you'll be able to go around the entire island on this snowmobile. But there are only 4 important locations. One of them is a secret one that you need to basically drive the boat up a ramp, jump over, and basically go inside a little cave where you'll find some loot. It's not really important to the story, but it is important if you want loot. The last 3 areas, one of them is a laboratory. The other important area is an observatory with a giant scope. No, you can't look using the scope. Sucks, I know, but oh well. And the last area is, I believe, if I'm not wrong, I think the last area, there's only one important thing that you need for the laboratory. It's basically like a key. And here's what you need to do on this island. It's kind of tedious, I'm not gonna lie. You need to take the snowmobile and drive around the island to find these cell towers and get cords out of them, and then go back to the first area with the giant observatory. As soon as you walk on top of the observatory, the snow will collapse on you, and you'll be forced to traverse yet another underwater adventure, under cold water, mind you. And you'll be faced with the same animals that I talked about, the Finding Nemo ones, I forgot their name. And as you're fighting them, you go up to the observatory, you find a key code. In this area, there is a puzzle on top of the observatory, and inside of it, you'll get blueprints. Now, I didn't spend as much time as I wanted to here, which is, I wanted to make sure that I get everything on the island. After I get what I need from the observatory, I head back with all my cords and go to the second area, which is where you need the cords to connect one place of power to a completely other one, and just continue to connect different sources of power together, connected to the main building in that area, where you'll get a torch. Now, you can use the torch to get inside the laboratory, because the front panel of the laboratory is completely frozen over. Once I made it inside the laboratory, I had to traverse another pile of puzzles that were kind of tedious. They weren't super fun. And there was also a poisonous gas that was constantly flowing the building. So because of the gas leaks and everything, you had to wear this special suit that help you breathe. Otherwise, you're just going to constantly lose health. So after solving some chemical numbers, solving a laser puzzle, I finally stopped the gas from flowing, and I get the notes and everything for the next area. Now, around this time, I spent around, I would say, 5 days. So at this point, we are about maybe, 85? Something like that? We're about 85 days in. And man, I really didn't like the fact that I closed the game and reopened it later to find myself on my rafts with almost no materials that I picked up from the island. Not a single thing. So I had to go back into the island and collect everything all over again. I'm gonna save you the trouble of seeing it again, but that's exactly what happened. I had to go back and collect everything, which took me another 5 days. So at this point, we've made it to 90 days, which I'm kind of happy about. On our 90th day, we finally managed to get to the very final island and the very final chapter of the game. We finally got to Utopia. And as much as the name suggests, it is not a pleasant place at all. Not a fun time for anybody, especially not for me. Because again, at this point, I've got 3 sharks in the water, so I can't swim down for any new materials. I have to live off of what I already have. I could have easily cheesed the sharks in a way. I could have parked. I could have placed my boat somewhere far away and sort of swam back to whatever area I needed to swam down. But once I did that already before in my 90 days that have gone by, I did that and it just wasn't fun for anyone because some of the sharks managed to, the AI managed to catch wind of where I am and then chase me down, which means I almost died doing that. So I didn't want to risk it anymore. I said, I'll live off of what I got and hope for the best that I won't need any new materials. So once I made it to Utopia, there are puzzles again all over the place. However, we meet our very first human that interacts with us. Of course, if you count the people that interacted with us before, the non-playable characters, you know, the playable characters that you can change with, we're not going to count those because these are people that you can play as. We actually get faced with the first person that interacts with us, a human, a first actual NPC, you know, a completely non-playable character. And he's a dick. I've never seen somebody be that much of a dick. It's remarkable how much of a dick he is. What a dick. He absolutely sucks because he managed to take over the island and imprison every single person that was on this island. Not a single soul was allowed to be free. And he used modified hyenas to make these people afraid of him so that he can put them in cages and lock them up. If you walk up to a specific door, which is the main building, I suppose, the main building of this area, you'll be able to hear muffled voices from behind a door. Of course, that's where everyone is locked in, which means you need the master key to unlock them and help them out. So, of course, traversing the island, there's some puzzle that you need to do. It's very simple. It's the same way as the cord puzzle, where you connect one source of power to the next source of power, and then you'll be faced with a water puzzle that is actually rather simple. It's not really that difficult to do. It was very confusing, but it wasn't hard to do. And then you had to parkour your way up above a bunch of different nets and like things that are hanging from the ceiling. And you had to use different sources of elevators to move cogwheels. And meanwhile, this guy is just talking shit to you the entire time. And it's somewhat annoying. And again, every time you get closer to him, he just runs away like a coward. So fully knowing that I'm going to be spending the last 10 days on this island, I take my time, you know. I knew that there are some areas that are just too dark when it's night. So I always slept when I needed to. Once I get to an area where he is not running away, he releases the alpha, quote unquote, the alpha of the group on me. And this alpha fucking sucks. He's not fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. He is absolutely not fun. Well, he has poison powers. I don't know how he has poison powers, but he does. And he's a giant dude. He's a giant hyena. And he does a lot of damage, and if he walks around normally, he will leave poison puddles around him or behind him, which means if you step into it, you will lose health. And so it's not really a fun time. It's not really a fun time for anybody. Well, again, it's a fun time for him. I'm pretty sure the hyena doesn't mind because he's having fun. He gets fed. And every time he gets fed, he essentially gains a little bit more health. I tried to kill him using the machete, but it didn't go well because every time I got close to him, I was being hit with poison. And poison doesn't actually it's not like water where you slowly lose oxygen, or it's not like Souls games where you slowly build up poison until you're fully poisoned. No, it immediately starts taking chunks of your health. Sorry, not chunks. It slowly starts to deplete your health. And if he attacks you, that will take a chunk out of your health. So we are faced with our very first death, which I know it sucks, and but we get faced with our first death, and it's not pleasant because I got him down to a lot down. But I realized that I should have taken a bow and arrow. And on the rafts, I make my bow and arrow. I make a bunch of arrows, and then I head back to fight the alpha again. And lo and behold, it was a much easier time than actually beating him like straight up. Beating him with a machete, it just wasn't fun at all. But beating him with a bow and arrow was so much simpler and so much easier that it wasn't even fair. Because I can just stay far away. He can't attack me no matter what. I did get damaged here and there, but it wasn't as bad as the machete. So now, the final door opens up. The guy runs away, and we take the elevator to where he ran away, to the penthouse. We go all the way up to the penthouse. Now, he is standing far at the very end of the room, and he is terrified of us getting closer. The more steps I take forward, the more he backs up. And if I stop moving forward, of course, he also stops moving backwards. So he keeps moving backwards, and as I move forward, and he essentially falls down, and no, he doesn't die. He gets caught, his leg gets caught in some cables, and he survives. We go down to where he is, we take a look at his upside down face, we grab the master key, we head back downstairs to the main building, and we finally open the key to the islanders that were locked inside of Utopia. And it was, and you know what? It's a beautiful ending. It's a really beautiful ending. There are kids around. There's kids around that are roaming, being happy. There's adults. And my question to this is that I did question this in the game. I don't think I was recording my audio at all, but I did question, like, why did they just not jump him? What it, like, even if multiple of them, I mean, granted, the alpha did kill me, but I can understand them being afraid. But there was so many of them. At least there were like 30 of them, and the amount of hyenas I fought were maybe, I want to say, like 12 or 13. But who knows? Alas, who knows, right? Once you free them, you will be gifted a multitude of things. You will be given multiple blueprints for different types of items. You'll have new smelters, you'll have new cookware, you'll have everything will be new. You'll also have a new hook, a new axe, and a new sword that does more damage and has more durability. However, this concludes our final day in Raft. Once we have beaten the guy, everyone is happy. I buy a bunch of decorations from the vending machines, and I head on my way and move on with my life because I just completed 100 days on the hardest difficulty on Raft. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you watched it all the way to the end, I appreciate you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll do another journey like this, but probably not, because I don't know. I've never done a 100-day challenge before. This is my first one, so it's a little bit awkward. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to check out my links in the description, like my Twitch channel, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. I appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic day. And bye. Yeah. You like that? That's end credit music. All right. Goodbye.